Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Death of Art. We're on the Lower East Side of Manhattan at 22 Ludlow, and we're at the art show of Cyril Mazard, the co-founder of The Death of Art. So let's see what we find. This is actually a self-portrait of Cyril Mazard. And the amazing thing about this self-portrait is that he's never owned a smartphone. And in fact, this portrait is him being obscured by a smartphone and his face. I don't think he has a computer. He does have a landline, so he's like about 20th century technology, nothing else. Anyway, eat it up. If you look closely, the chimpanzee is actually translucent. So I don't know if it's a trans-dimensional chimpanzee, if it's just an artifact of the painting style, but it seems to enhance the message. It brings it to another level.
That's all. It's multi-dimensional. That's all. That's all.
Cyril doesn't leave his house very much for a lot of reasons. Obviously, it's a good thing because he does all this stuff. So, you know, that's the upside. But indeed, Cyril left his house for an extended period of time to have a show. And we're documenting this here because this is not going to happen again for another few years. So eat it up, guys, okay?
Yeah. It's wheelchair time next time. You know, like 10 years from now, maybe, if we get lucky. No, it's just every gallery is booked. I'm not going to stay in line. So that was by luck, through friendship. He lent me the space. And yeah, I haven't had a solo show ever in New York.
Some of Cyril's most magnificent work is his printed matter, and he's done dozens and dozens of these kind of old-fashioned comic books, yet he injects his own philosophy into them, and he turns them into something other than comic books. And they're magnificent. I mean, for instance, this is one of the best titles for a book, Central Mistake of the Universe. I mean, this should be next to the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita, but I guess we have a long way to go.
Around 2005, my niece and then my nephew, they were born, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, I'll make comic for the kids. And it started, and then it was an explosion of comics, and I kept doing it. And then I'm like, I think I'm done, I did enough. And they don't read the comics, so everything is fine.
I mean, you have endless little vignettes like this: Napoleon's Wars, Winter is Not Free, World War I, Peace is Not Free. It's all little in-depth things with logos, with philosophy mixed in, and with his cool little retro comic style that he does. Now, as far as I can tell, it's the elephant in the room depicted in painting, but I tend to think it's got a much deeper, darker meaning. And there's multiple layers that go through space and time inside this painting. Cyril, tell me if I'm wrong or tell me if I'm right.
No, I took it literally elephant in the room. And I was like, okay, that's, I'm desperate for ideas. I'll illustrate one here. This one has, to me, more meaning. In a way, if we were going for meaning. I cannot explain it, but let's say the artist is remembering how it was, what we destroy. He's trying to remember what we destroy, I guess. I don't know, it's like this.
Here we have the guest wall. These are Cyril's friends and people Cyril knows, and people who I guess maybe just walked in here and hung something up. This is Mad Anger. That's probably Mad Anger, yeah. This is Kelsey's work. This is actually part of her plastic bag collection that got melted, or that she melted together to create this artwork. Then what happened is her maid threw out the rest of her plastic bag collection. Apparently, this was a massive collection. She'd been working on it for her entire life, and her maid just one day decided it was garbage. So the plastic bag art is sort of lost to art history, except for this one piece, which is probably worth millions. Over here, we have a Pete missing. He seems to say these are cityscapes, but then other things as well, so they're sort of multi-level. This is an interesting piece. This one, I have no idea. This sort of infantile, what have you, blowjob is, I have no idea who that is either. I think the most masterful work is this piece. It is basically like a religious tableau, and he's using elements from all over the place. This is part of Cyril's language, which is militarism, Americana a little bit, lots of decay. He added in some Mayan temples, but they're not quite Mayan temples. They're something like Mayan temples.
Yeah.
I've seen one of your paintings where there was a theme of the vehicles and transport, also in the water, sinking in the water. What is your inspirational logic behind like showing the transport vehicles like sinking in the water?
This painting is kind of inspired by Apocalypse Now. Apocalypse Now, you go up the river from the present to the distant past. At first you have all this technology, and little by little in the film you go back to prehistoric time. So the river, is the conduit, is the highway. Okay, so you have all this history around on the shore of the river.
I think it's very informative, very stimulating, artistically, shows a lot of talent, and extremely enjoyable. I want to see more.
Please like, please subscribe, and please ring the bell.